Alright, so I'm going to be performing my air brakes test. Before that, I'm going to start with a safe start. Safe start. Looking in my mirrors to make sure my wheels are chocked. Making sure my truck's in neutral. Your guys' gear shifts will be right here. Make sure my brakes are applied. Now I'm going to check my seatbelt. That is properly mounted secured to the cab. It's not ripped, torn, or frayed. It latches and unlatches properly. For my air brakes test, I have a primary gauge and a secondary gauge. All my readings will be coming from my primary gauge. And I'm starting my test below 90 psi. The first test that I'll be performing is called my governor cutout. To speed this process up, I'm going to assist the system by revving my engine between 10 and 1500 RPMs. As I build up max pressure, I want you guys to notice I have gauges that are in increments of 25, 0, 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, and 150. Once I reach between 75 and 100, anytime in between there, I'm going to push in my trailer brake. If they ask you why you're pushing your trailer brake, to get a more accurate reading. What I'm allowing happen by pushing in my trailer brake, I'm allowing the whole system to get fully filled up with air all the way from the back to the front. So now, I'm just revving my engine until my governor cuts out. How will I know when my governor cuts out? My needle will stop rising. Also, you will hear a brake sneeze. But do not just go off that brake sneeze, because you guys might be doing your test around other trucks and you're going to confuse their brake sneeze with your brake sneeze, and you're going to call your governor cutout at the wrong time. So do not go off the brake sneeze. Go off your needle when it stops rising. Okay? Also, when you guys are in your trucks, the Gold trucks do not rev past 12 RPMs, alright? It is harsh on the engine, they don't like it. Governor cutout at 123 psi. This is a good test because my governor cutout no higher than 140 psi. My next test is the governor cut-in. Push on the brake pedal one time to reduce pressure. Right now I'm sitting at about 103. As soon as that needle starts rising, I'm going to call my governor cut-in. There it goes. My governor cut-in at 104 psi. This is a good test because my governor cut-in no lower than 100 psi. If it didn't move within 8 to 15 seconds, I would have pumped the brake again, but it started to move, so we're good. My next test that I'm going to perform is called the applied pressure test. First, I'm going to build back up to max pressure. Alright, now that I'm at max pressure, I'm going to shut the vehicle off. I'm going to turn my key back to the on position because I'm going to need it for my next test. Push in my yellow parking brake. Let all that air sift out. Let my needle stabilize. Once my needle has stabilized, I will then begin to apply my pressure to the service brake pedal all the way to the floor and hold it. Then I will say, once my needle has stabilized. My needle is stabilized at 98 psi. I would like to begin my minute. So you guys first time around will actually hold it for a minute just to see how it feels on your leg. I mean, I do this all day, every day, so I'm going to go ahead and say that my minute's up. Alright, so your minute's up. My needle is still stabilized at 98 psi. This is a good test because I did not lose no more than 4 psi within that minute. Then you take your foot off.
Not before.
Not before. So after you stated why it was a good test. My next test is a low air warning test. For this test, you need your key in the on position. But remember, when I turn the vehicle off, I turn my key automatically back to the on position. So for my low air warning test, all I'm going to do is fan my brakes, and my low air warning light and buzzer come on. There it is. My low air warning came on at 74 psi. This is a good test because my low air warning came on between 55 and 75 psi. This last test I'm going to perform is called the spring brake test. I'm going to fan my brakes until both my trailer and parking brake valve pop out. While I'm fanning my brakes, I'm keeping my eyes on the brake valves, and I'll tell you why after. My spring brakes activated at 45 psi. This is a good test because my spring brakes activated between 20 and 45 psi. That concludes my air brakes test. Alright, the reason why I tell you guys to keep your eyes on the brake valves while you're pumping for the spring brake test is because sometimes what will happen is only one will pop out and not the other. Remember, this test, they're tested as a whole. They're not tested individually. So say, for instance, this popped out at 40 psi. I would say, okay, my trailer brake has popped out at 40 psi. I would stop pumping, say my trailer brake popped out at 40 psi. Then I will continue fanning until my parking brake. Say my parking brake popped out at 30 psi. I would say, okay, now my parking brake has popped out at 30 psi, and this is still a good test because they both popped out within the range of 20 and 45 psi. Now, say one of them was to pop out at 46 or 19. It would be a bad test. And it's okay to have a bad test. The truck fails, you don't, as long as you say, this was a bad test because they both should have popped out within the range of 20 and 45 psi. Alright? Keep that in mind. It's okay to have a bad test, guys, as long as you identify that it's a bad test. Say, for instance, on your low air warning test, that your low air warning comes on at, say, 78 over this black line. I would say this is a bad test because my low air warning should have activated between 55 and 75 psi. And that's still passing for you guys, okay?
Okay.
Alright,